And also thank you to Lyrasis and the Catalyst Fund for funding us. I'm very excited to talk to you about the Quantitative Institute for Libraries, which was the grant given to Duquesne University. My name is Marcia Rapchak. I was at Duquesne University when we got this grant, and the institute will be held at Duquesne University. I'm not there anymore, but Cathryn Miller, who couldn't be here today, is at Duquesne. She's the social sciences librarian. I was the head of teaching and learning, that's what it was. But now I'm a lecturer for an MLIS program. So really the purpose of our grant was to think about how can we best prepare people who maybe don't have any sort of statistical background or any background in quantitative research to best serve their communities, because a lot of us are being asked to show our value, for one thing, show our value to the communities, but also are asked to better understand our communities and think about how we can use data to help them. And so that's really the purpose of our grant, and I'll talk a little bit more about that too. But one sort of philosophy that we're having as we're approaching developing this is to really help people go from fear to, if it not maybe love, but if love, that's great, but maybe just feeling more comfortable with doing or understanding statistical analyses for one, perhaps doing some basic statistical analyses as well, so that they can make decisions, help their communities, and hopefully understand the resources that they're providing better. Oops, going too fast. So Cathryn is a social sciences librarian, and she has a background in statistics. She has a master's in sociology and does a lot with both statistical analyses and, in fact, finding data out there, so finding large sets of data. And I have a background in statistics as well, just in using it for research. So we got together and thought that we could be some good first leaders for this, so in the future there might be other people who get involved. So really we saw this as fitting any sort of library. It's not just for academic librarians or anything like that. You see a lot of public librarians who are are trying to demonstrate their value to the community, trying to understand their community. So we didn't see it as being for a particular library audience. And we're also hoping that perhaps not just librarians will come, library staff, maybe people in museum and archives as well. So we're really trying to focus on practical content that will be very useful. It's only a 2-day institute, so we're really focusing on things like giving examples from other libraries and how they use quantitative data. So thinking about using data to show value, informing your decision making. What do you buy? What do you not buy? What do you give up? Assessing learning, assessing all sorts of things in the library, publishing your research, or just understanding research. So we're hoping that all that content will be valuable to a wide range of people. So it's going to be held at Duquesne University, which is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And it's going to be held, we have a really cool, well, it's not we anymore, Gumberg Library has a really cool room that is called a Flex Tech room. It's got these pods and these screens at the pods, so we'll have people doing a lot of interactive stuff, bringing their own devices, but also working on this sort of shared devices as well. So we think it'll be a cool environment for that. Our schedule is really just walking people through the sort of research process when it comes to quantitative data. So thinking about what a quantitative methodology is, how does that compare to qualitative methodology? Not to say that quantitative methodology is better, it's just another way of gathering information. And then talking about how you gather data, how you find existing data, and then between day 1 and day 2, doing a little bit with also statistical analyses, not going into something crazy like modeling, but just some of the most frequent statistical analyses that you see in the library literature, and then thinking about interpreting those results, and then data visualization a little bit. And we'll end with a guest panel of librarians from a variety of different libraries who use quantitative data in their everyday careers. So it's a full schedule, so we'll see how that goes. That's part of what we're sort of piloting is, does 2 days work? Is it too short, too long? There aren't too many of quantitative research institutes out there. There is one for sort of like social scientists that costs a lot of money. This is going to be free. It's only 35 attendees because we wanted to start small, see how it goes from there. And a lot of MLIS programs don't really focus necessarily on quantitative research. Maybe yours did. That's great, but looking at the curriculum for for all of the top 10 of the US World Report list of MLIS programs, most of them did not require any sort of quantitative research course. So we thought that this would be a benefit in that way. So really right now we're developing curriculum. From January to March, we'll start to think about, we'll start to register people. We've already started some marketing. The deadline for registration will be April 1st of 2019, and then the Institute will be held May 2019, actually the 16th to the 17th. So we've made a pretty good amount of progress. We've done some marketing. We have some of our materials created, not a whole lot. We've done a lot of the scheduling and that basic sort of dealing with the logistics. And of course, we are still developing the curriculum. We need to continue marketing and registering our attendees, creating handouts, and that all sort of leads to talking about sustainability. We really want this to be something that is shared. We're going to create we're going to put a Creative Commons license on all the materials so that anyone can use the materials that we create. We're going to record all the sessions. We've already scheduled the recording for that. So we really want it to be something that isn't just this 2-day institute. It's something that people can use in other ways, maybe sort of train the trainers, people who attend can go back and share the materials and teach those people at their institutions as well. So we already have a website that will put our information up on there. And so just a couple of lessons learned so far, though of course we're early in the process, but it's really time consuming to do things like get panelists, get guest teachers. That takes a while, so I'm glad we got started on that early because it took us a while. And then also just things like, this is my first grant, and the person who did our budget, I think, under-budgeted some things. So just sort of shuffling, and thinking about, okay, in the future, if I do a grant again, thinking about, okay, don't under-budget yourself for a grant. That's not a good idea. So those have just been lessons learned so far, though I imagine the big lessons we'll learn during the actual institute. So that's a quick rundown of the Quantitative Institute for Libraries, and I'm happy to take any questions you have. Yes, sir?
Actually, I have, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
A microphone working over here. And I'm glad you talked about registering on April 1st. I'm pretty sure everyone in this room wants to register now.
So a couple of quick questions.
Yeah.
One, is this being designed as a one-off, or do you see it moving on?
I would hope it would move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the second being, how do you see this complementing the existing ongoing programs like the Institute for Research Design in Libraries or the Research Institute for Public Libraries, both of which have quantitative components?
Yeah, this is a little, I'm not as familiar with those. This is pretty in-depth focused on that. It's 2 days dedicated to that, but certainly those are areas where I'd like to explore more and see how we can complement that. Do those cost money? Yeah. So that, we're really wanting something that is accessible for, so maybe some people who don't get as much funding, graduate students as well, maybe libraries that don't have as much funding. Yeah.
Great. Other questions? Raise your hand if you have any questions at this point. Okay. Thank you, Marcia. That's great.